It's Monday night, and that means it is time for the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series this week, Talladega SuperSpeedway. Hello, everybody. My name is Evan Pasoko. As always, join me up here in the booth on this Monday night, Harrison Wireless. Harrison, it's time for the wild card race in the chase. This is going to really shake up the points if Talladega lives up to its nature. It's going to be a wild night of racing.
Oh, absolutely. The racing at Talladega is unlike anywhere else, aside from Daytona, of course. And this is a chess match meets roulette meets Yahtzee meets anything else you could think of. And these drivers are going to be really filled with tension coming to the as they work towards that checkered flag, trying to get through this event.
And when you talk about Real Sim Racing, broadcasting two of its premier series every week on ETVLIVE, the Real Sim Racing League produces some of the best and most competitive racing in iRacing. Join the ETVLIVE crew every Monday and Thursday night for the Full Throttle and Asphalt Assault series. And join us for some great racing entertainment, as always, at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mondays and Thursdays on Channel 1 here on ETVLIVE. Again, let's take a look back at last week before we get ahead to tonight's season-changing race, basically. Last week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Again, that's what your typical NASCAR-style track is, 1.5-mile speedway. And in NASCAR's backyard, basically, we did 135 laps. It was Chad Cole coming home with a surprise victory in the end of that thing with a beat-up race car. That ended up putting him back up into the points lead. Jonathan Cadell finishing in a solid second place. Cale Dresbach finished third with his Red Ass Chassis Works Ohio team. Justin Wilson taking home a solid top 4 finish, and Steve Gottschalk running off the top 5.
Yeah, Ronnie Potts continued his pretty consistent runs, always in the top 6 or 7. It seems like Ronnie Potts came home in 6th. Jose Gonzalez came home in 7th. Mike King, chase driver, came home in 8th, followed by Rich Chet and Dave Lanza rounding out the top 10.
And then CJ LeVere in 11th position. He's another one of those chase guys. And when you got to talk about the chase, let's look at the chase standings right now. Halfway through, this is race number 6 in the chase at Talladega. 4 races will remain after tonight. And again, this could be the wild card in it for sure. You look at the top of the points. Chad Cole with 2,218 with 9 wins on the season. Second in points, Dwayne Vincent in that number 13 car, 8 points back. Then you look at third place, CJ LeVere, 32 back. These are all the guys now that can very benefit from what happens tonight. So LeVere, 32 back. You have Jose Gonzalez in the 4th position, 34 back, tied actually with Ronnie Potts, who's in the 5th spot, also 34 back. And then in that 6th position in points, Justin Wilson, 48 back as well.
Yeah, looking at the second half of the chase, the drivers certainly not out of it. Steve Ritter, 58 out of the lead in 7th position, but he won just a couple of weeks ago and has the speed to be up there every week, and so he can make a run. Rich Jett been solid all season long, currently 8th in points. Mike King currently sits 9th. Guy Snyder has the ability, as he sits 10th, to go on a hot streak as well, but luck hasn't quite been on his side to start this chase. Then we have John Abbott and Mark Baratcher, who's had a lot of rough luck the last couple of weeks, rounds out the top 12.
And definitely being perfect will only really give you a shot at walking away with the championship the way that the playoff formats work in this style of racing. When you look at the track tonight, Talladega Superspeedway, capacity crowd of 175,000 people, owned and operated by the International Speedway Corporation, broke ground in May of 1968 and opened that following year for a construction cost of $4 million. You look at the track facts, an asphalt surface 2.66 miles in length, the longest track on the NASCAR circuit, 4 turns with degrees of banking in upwards of 33 degrees, in 4 stories tall, an incredibly demanding racetrack when you're going full throttle, a restrictor plate race, which is going to keep these cars. Now, an interesting thing to note, on iRacing, you can work the tandem draft a little bit better in these Gen 6 cars than in real life. But if there's anything like a short shootout at the end, definitely look for some pack racing for sure. And that's when you got to talk about the big one. Will we see drivers hang back early on into going to play it safe and try to minimize the points damage? Because most drivers will just be really satisfied getting out of here with a race car that's not torn up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those situations where the drivers that are up there in the points hunt that look to lay back, what they're probably going to try to do is not lay back enough that they lose the lead draft, the lead pack, but just enough that should there be a wreck that breaks out in that lead pack, they'd be able to avoid it. This is a race where Possibly the tandem drafting will keep the guys up front that want to stay there, and where they won't be more likely to get trained through the pack, as so often in these pack-style races. But it's going to be a really interesting race to see how these cars actually race, because as you said, tandem is huge. We have 88 laps here, so they don't want to overheat their engines, and they might play it a little bit safe. But there might be quite a few different agendas going on here.
Another thing to keep an eye on tonight, we'll take a look at some in specific as the night progresses, but some drivers sporting some retro paint schemes on their race cars tonight. That's the theme for tonight's race, so some of those things to take a look at. If you see a driver sporting a little bit different colors tonight than normal, that is the reason behind it. And let's real quick talk about who makes it happen for everybody here. Again, the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series brought to you by Bob Earl Racing, and the winner at the end of the chase is going to walk away with a VRC Mark II virtual racing seat that is a simulation racing cockpit designed by championship race car driver Bob Earl. Who better than a real race car driver to design a simulation racing cockpit? After all, he knows what it means to be comfortable behind the wheel. The design features a fully adjustable seat end frame. Additional monitor stand and shifter mounts are sold separately. Proud sponsor of the 2013 RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. A high quality and affordable virtual racing cockpit priced at just $349 plus shipping. See today at www.bobearlracing.com. As time winds down in qualifying, you take a look, 28 drivers took times right now so far in qualifying. 28 drivers have put up a qualifying lap. It's going to be a big field for tonight's race. Again, you got to look at those guys sitting third on back. Lavere, 32 back. Gonzalez, 34 back. Potts, 34 back. Those three guys, fifth on up, are within one race of Chad Cole and Vincent, so this could really shake things up going into the final 4 weeks, and this is possibly their best chance to get back in this title hunt.
Yeah, I guess we shouldn't be too surprised that as of right now, there are a few cars still on the racetrack putting up their final laps, but Dwayne Vincent and Chad Cole, the current front row, separated by 1,000th of a second, and I guess we wouldn't have it any other way. They've gone back and forth for that points lead all year, and they're in the front row here at Talladega, unofficially waiting for the final cars to take the checkered flag. But Talladega qualifying, we have 18 cars within half a tenth of a second. So you know these guys being really smooth on the wheel. It's just it's a racetrack where the complexion switching from qualifying to the race just changes absolutely everything.
Overheating, the big one, dancing partners, it's all going to come into play here, and the winner at the end of this race here, 88 laps at the Talladega Superspeedway, will definitely earn their money's worth. Vincent, Cole, Lavere, the top three unqualifying, top three in the points. All three of those guys separated by 1,000th of a second, but we're getting ready to look for the green flag here. So we're going to go down track side for the Cactus Cuties performing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
The field starting to take to the grid at the start-finish line. Again, big thanks to the Cactus Cuties for that presentation of the national anthem. And again,
gentlemen, start your engine!
Taking tonight's pole, second place in the points, entering tonight, looking to pick up win number 14 in this season. It is the number 13 of Dwayne Vincent, outside of row number 1. Point leader, the number 8 of Chad Cole.
Row number 2 has one of our retro paint schemes, CJ LeVere, and the number 4 Morgan McClure looking car. Outside of him, 3-time race winner this season, Steve Ritter.
In the 5th position, the number 91 of Steve Gottschalk inside row 3. Outside him, the number 27 of Guy Snyder the 4th.
Starting 7th will be the 38 of Mark Bratcher, alongside of him the 58 of Justin Wilson.
Inside row number 5 in the 9th starting position will be the number 26 Jose Gonzalez, and on his right hand side in the 10th spot, the number 2 of Ronnie Potts.
Starting 11th will be the 57 of Ryan Vaughn. Outside of him, starting 12th, the 29 of Brendan Mercer.
Bill Tomer is going to roll that number 5 Chevrolet onto the grid, lucky number 13th position. Starting 14th outside him, the 11 of Britt Van Meter.
Starting 15th off of a second place finish last week, that's Jonathan Cadell. Starting 16th, the 25 of Nick Silver.
Number 66, Brian Harvey is going to take to the green flag in position number 17. Starting 18th, it is the 33 of David Lanza.
Starting 19th, that's the number 45 of Cale Dressback. Alongside of him in 20th, the 43 of Doug Raw.
In the 21st position, the number 47 of Eric Arnold. 22nd, the 84, Jimmy North.
Barry Hines will be starting 23rd in the number 18. Starting 24th, the 44 of Glenn Campbell.
Starting in 25th is going to be the number 19, piloted by Marvin Turnmeyer Jr., and then Rhett McBride, and the number 15 is going to be starting 26th.
Starting 27th will be the 78 of Keith Brooks Jr., alongside of him, Douglas Wyatt.
29th is going to be the 88 of Adam Roberts, the last driver to take a qualifying time, and then starting in the 30th spot, the number 10 of John Abbott.
Row number 16, we've got the number 04 of Mike King, alongside him the 36 of Rich Jett.
And at the back of the pack, but with a lot of laps to get up to the front, starting 33rd is the 82 of Doug Fleming, and rounding off the field, the 34th car that will take to the green flag is the 62 of John Wilco. The field bunched up in turns number 3 and 4. Remember, Talladega, the start-finish line, but 100 meters past that center of the tri-oval, which changes the outcome of several races, as opposed to Daytona or every other track basically on those 1.5 mile tracks. So that's really the game changer in those late race passes when you try to get that slingshot. The lights are off on the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. He's going to dive down to the safety of pit road. There he goes. The field in the hands of Vincent. They got to wait a little bit longer till they get to that restart box. Vincent's really not going to want to get a jump here like he does at other tracks, but we're looking for the green flag. Dwayne Vincent on the loud pedal. The green flag is out, and we are going at the Talladega Superspeedway. Vincent opens up about a 2-car length lead right now. Chad Cole side by side with CJ LeVere going into turn number 1, and we're 2 wide all the way through the pack.
Yeah, and as these drivers try to sort out who they want to work with, a lot of drivers working together already, some left hung out to dry, unsure of really who many of these guys are going to be working with. A lot of these drivers working with many, as they're 3 wide up front right now. We see the 27 of Guy Snyder being pushed by the 58 of Wilson. 3 tandems actually hooking up all 3 wide entering turn number 3. So a lot of racing already. Looks like Steve Ritter in the 16 has paired up with Dwayne Vincent. That's on the bottom of the track. But coming to lead this first lap, it's anyone's guess. Right now we've got the 4 of CJ LeVere looking to lead the first lap of that tandem on the outside. Guy Snyder is looking strong.
I guess they didn't get the memo that hanging back was the plan to do tonight at Talladega, because CJ LeVere is going to lead lap number 1. He is being pushed by that 8 of Chad Cole. Then we're side by side behind him with 2 tandems. The tandem on the top is the 27 of Guy Snyder. He is being pushed by the 58 of Wilson over Dwayne Vincent, getting a good shove by Steve Ritter in that bottom lane. Made up some decent ground there on the bottom through 1 and 2. Now down the back straightaway. Vincent is in front of Snyder, but it looks like they're going to get into the back of the 4 and the 8, which will stall him out going into the corner. Let's see if the 27 and the 58 can capitalize on that. Meanwhile, while these guys are already getting racy, everybody else in the pack still trying to find a dancing partner and get back up to these leaders.
Yeah, it sure seems like tandems will be the way to go this evening, and the key will just be to keep your car from overheating. You see a lot of these guys up front, when you have a tandem leading the way, and we see the 13 of Dwayne Vincent and the 16 right behind those two leaders, what Steve Ritter's actually doing is backing off of Dwayne Vincent quite a bit occasionally, just to get some air into that radiator, cool that thing down so that he doesn't need to switch too soon. And so that's one of these things that the guys will be pretty conservative with, is their temperatures. If they don't have to push to be able to keep up with the leaders, that's exactly what they're going to do, because if you get your engine to where it's not overheating at the end of the race, you can push for much longer, and that's the advantage that you want to have. But right now, CJ Laver still in control with help from Chad Cole, and that's a pair that I think we'll see together all race. Those two are fearless racing teammates, always seem to be working together.
Definitely the second, or the third and fourth place cars, rather, that second tandem, Dwayne Vincent and Steve Ritter. Ritter moving up the track, trying to get some air to the front of his Coca-Cola Chevrolet in the fourth spot. That big pack kind of broke up once we saw a swap being with the 58 of Wilson and the 27 of Snyder. Now here they come on the top side of Mark Bratcher and Jose Gonzalez, who have mixed their way up in with this picture. However, the 38 and the 26 not quite hooked up, so looking for that 58 and the 27 to get a good run here off the corner if Snyder can keep it glued to the back bumper of Wilson. This time off of turn number 4, you see they're starting to make their way up on that top side in excess of 200 miles an hour. That's going to be the way it is all night long. Other than this, these top 8 have almost broken away a little bit. We have 2-car tandems trying to catch back up. 9th place is the 91 of Steve Gottschalk, and he is drafting with the 10th place car being the 57 of Ryan Vaughn. They want to get up into this mix at the front of the field, but still a long way to go at Talladega as we work lap number 5 of 88.
Actually, a caution on the racetrack, looking for where it is. It's out of turn number 2. Looks like the 19 of Marvin Termeyer involved, as well as the 18 of Barry Hines. And so the first caution comes early, about 5 laps into the race. But this type of racing is the type of racing we're going to see for most of the... It looks like a 2-car tandem gone wrong when a 3rd car tried to get in the mix there. Only 2 cars sustaining a lot of damage, but a tough break for those two, certainly, as they were racing towards the back of the pack around 20th.
Yeah, definitely. It looked like at the top of the field it was a 2-car tandem, possibly with the 19 and the 88. Actually, it was the 19 and the 18 going together. Once the 19 of Termeyer got off the back bumper of Barry Hines, the 88 picked him up right away, being Adam Roberts. And once Roberts pushed that 19 to the back bumper of the 18 just went around in a very strange incident. 19 with some heavy front-end damage. 88 got some damage as well. And, of course, the 18 getting that back end into the wall. And then the track like Talladega, where aerodynamics is everything, it's going to pretty much spoil their nights up to this point, and it's going to be a long couple laps, or a long remainder of the race, I guess you could say, if they are trying to pick up any points, but not the way they wanted to start it out. But hey, we were 3 wide on lap 1. How's that to kick things off?
Yeah, absolutely. With that wreck right there, a lot of times when a 3rd car in line makes contact with the middle car, that kind of spooks the netcode a little bit, which is why you see that car coming around so fast. But a lot of action early on. Not sure if we'll see any of these guys come down pit road. Obviously, tires not being really a factor at all tonight. We might see some tire changes depending on how much fuel they need. We're seeing about half and half right now. A lot of cars staying out, but a few coming down pit road to top off their fuel tanks. Obviously, track position not being everything here, but with the way the 2-car tandem works, it pays to start up front. And so these drivers will be coming down, topping off their fuel cells, possibly to get themselves within a window to where they don't need to make that extra pit stop.
And definitely, let's take a look real quick here under the caution flag at the car in 6th position. That is the 91 of Steve Gottschalk. Read an interesting story from him. Remember, tonight is the retro paint scheme night. The paint scheme that he's running right there, that Pepsi design on his Chevrolet, has some significance to him, because back in 1973, when he was only 17 years old, hell, that's still older than me right now, he was a huge NASCAR fan. He was able to get a summer job as an unpaid intern with Lenny Pond in his rookie season in the NASCAR Cup Series, and that is one of Lenny's designs. So Gottschalk honoring that moment in his life that he obviously remembers and is very grateful for with the design on his race car tonight. So that's just a cool little snippet of information there on that design there on that 91 car.
Yeah, Lenny Pond was one of those drivers who made a lot out of a little. He didn't have the budgets of a lot of the bigger teams around him, but they made it work. And certainly getting the opportunity to work for a NASCAR team on that level had to be one heck of an experience. I did something similar working for Carl Long, but when you really look at it, Carl Long in 2005 versus Lenny Pond in 1973 and a few years forward there, it's just a world of difference between the way NASCAR was and is. And it had to be an incredible experience for Steve Gottschalk, as Lenny Pond is actually a Talladega winner. He won the 1978 Talladega 500, so it only makes sense to be running that 1976 Pepsi scheme right here at Talladega.
Yeah, definitely that team there with that team only had 3 full-time members, and he actually beat out Darrell Waltrip for Rookie of the Year that season. So again, doing a lot with a little, getting that win at Talladega, and that is represented in his Pepsi car tonight. We are working under the pace laps right now. Chad Cole up front. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back for the green flag here at the Talladega Superspeedway. Don't go anywhere. It's ETV Live's live coverage of the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series.
It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4, and the checkered flag, he wins his first NASCAR iRacing. Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
The green flag back out at the Talladega Superspeedway. Chad Cole up front with CJ LaVere getting hooked up before we even get into turn number 1. Again, ETV Live's live coverage from the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series from the Talladega Superspeedway for race 6 of the chase. My name is Fasoko. Joining me up in the booth, as always, Harrison Wilets. Harrison, we've seen wreck number 1, definitely not the big one, but these guys are feeling racy tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a type of racing where you're really aggressive on the drivers that you're working with bumpers. And so these drivers always on the edge of wrecking, just in a different type of way. A lot of these racetracks we go to, they're on the edge of wrecking because they're on the limit of the tires. And here they're just using each other's bumpers so hard to get every ounce of speed out of these race cars that one wrong move can just send the car in front of you spinning. And so tandem seemed to be the way to go. These drivers are 2 points leaders right there up front right now. We see Dwayne Vincent working with the 16 of Steve Ritter, and Chad Cole and CJ LaVere remain together. Right now in 5th place, Jose Gonzalez hung out to dry, does not have a current drafting partner, and so he's going to be looking for someone as he fades back through the field here.
And look at that 91 of Gottschalk coming on the inside with help from the 57 of Vaughn. We're going to go 3 wide as the 66 of Harvey and Roth go up the middle as Gonzalez dropping to the back quick on that top. 43 gets real loose. Doug Roth down to the yellow line. He's going to hang on to it. He wrecked it, but he just didn't hit anything. What a save by the 43 of Roth. Roth now going to be picked up by the 31. 31 gives him a little bit of a bump. Roth going to get back up with his drafting partner of the 66 of Harvey, but that almost went really bad real quick, but Roth able to hang on with a great piece of driving.
Yeah, great save by Doug Roth in that STB scheme. Very, very reminiscent of the 1970s Richard Petty cars. Not exactly sure what year, but that was a great piece of driving right there by Doug Roth. And we remained green because of it. And that's just the type of exactly what we were talking about just moments ago. These guys are just using each other's bumpers, and just that little wrong tap, maybe a couple of inches further than you want to be, and it could just snap these drivers around. But able to rebound, they didn't lose very much momentum in that deal. The 66 car of Brian Harvey that I believe Phillips 66 Trop Arctic Chevrolet staying with Doug Roth, deciding to keep working together, not lose too much track position here, and they're going to cross the line here running in the 9th and 10th positions, and now they're trying to get that high side going right now as they work their way on the outside of Guy Snyder and Justin Wilson.
Definitely that 43 of Roth always sporting that petty blue week in and week out. Looked like they were going to make up some ground on the 58 of Justin Wilson there on that top side. Could not quite get it done. 43 going to get reestablished on Harvey's bumper and try to get going again. Single file in front of them, and single file all the way up to the front. Our first side-by-side battle is actually with Roth, because here comes the 47 of Eric Arnold down to the bottom with help from the 31 of Jonathan Cadell. They flew by there on that inside lane as Roth could not get hooked up with his partner after a botched switch with Harvey, not as clean as they wanted. And now the 5 of Tomer along with the 11 of Britt Van Meter are going to pass them as well. So that 43 and 66 cannot get hooked back up, and they're losing a lot of spots.
Yeah, right in front of the 5 right now, a couple of switches going on, and Steve Gottschalk is looking to get paired right back up with the 57 of Ryan Vaughn. Actually, I have to say, you usually see a lot of mellow yellow cars that are usually painted either like Kyle Petty's car back in 1992-93, or more often the Days of Thunder piece that Colt Trickle, Tom Cruise made famous. As we have another car loose, the 31 gets really loose on the apron. That's the 31 of Jonathan Cadell. The drivers right behind him get checked up in time in order to stay off of him, but a lot of lost momentum for guys like Britt Van Meter, Dave Lanza, and so a really close call right there. But we remain green as the driver's doing a really good job of avoiding catastrophe right there.
Take a look up at Doug Roth on the top side, 3 wide with the 91 of Gottschalk in the middle, along with that 57 mellow yellow car you mentioned of Vaughn there. Now the 47 of Eric Arnold's going to go up to the top side. A lot of switching going on, and that caused a big checkup again. Some drivers had to go down below that yellow line to check up for that incident, but again, we stay clean and green for the time being. Remember, these guys, some of these guys are whizzes at making some setups, but tonight we are running the iRacing fixed Talladega setup on these race cars, so not the most stable of sorts. Take a look at that 15 car right there with help from the 38. The 38 of Bratcher pushing his partner all the way up into this mix, almost getting into the 47. This is a big group of race cars around that 14 spot, and we are 3 wide going into turn 1 again.
Yeah, a lot of great racing in the middle of the pack. Rhett McBride and Mark Bratcher just shoved their way through that middle line. They had to separate a little bit. They backed out to avoid driving into the back. They just ran out of a hole to go through. As the 15, that Bud Moore looking car above that 57. What I was getting at with the mellow yellow cars, you don't usually see the newer mellow yellow logo and colors on one of these race cars, so it's nice to see it. It looks good. But Bratcher and McBride getting a really good run through it all as they start to fan out a little bit, but they're 3 wide behind them there. Glenn Campbell and Lanza in the middle there as Arnold and Cadell up high, Tomer, Gottschalk, Van Meter all down low, and it just seems like everything condenses and then spreads out, then condenses again.
That's just the nature of the Talladega Superspeedway on the iRacing service. That 5 car, take a look at him. Bill Tomer, 14th spot, came over the radio down the backstretch, said you guys are crazy for racing 3 wide, 16 laps into this thing. He is going to make his way now around the 91 of Gottschalk, him and his drafting partner, the 11 of Britt Van Meter, looking to get hooked back up, as in that exchange, Gottschalk lost his drafting partner. Let's take a look back up at the front of the field. CJ LeVere in the 2nd spot right now with the 8 of Chad Cole. in the lead spot. Cole was second last time around, so they have made a switch most recently. The 27 of Snyder sitting in third with help from the 58 of Justin Wilson. They are riding around in again that third and fourth spot. Can't really catch these guys, so if you look at the front of the field, a lot of two-car tandems when you get to the middle of the pack racing.
Yeah, it seems as though a couple laps ago, a lot of lost momentum from the 16 of Steve Ritter got really loose, and that's why you see Steve Ritter and Dwayne Vincent a couple of seconds behind the leaders. But so that while they're 2 seconds behind, they're not out of the race by any means, and they might be able to reel them back in when the switches go on. I had to go back and look because now it's a four-way race for the lead up there, or one-on-one if you just look at them as a tandem. The 58 of Wilson just doing that switch with the 27 of Snyder, but I tell you, Chad Cole and CJ LeVere, they got to be happy with the way their race is looking right now, as they have kept their tandem out front, out of harm's way. And Chad Cole's been leading some laps here, which he so desperately wants, to be able to build a buffer between him and Dwayne Vincent for that points title race.
A big pack brewing behind the 5 of Bill Tomer. Tomer in 15th. His drafting partner is the 11 of Van Meter. They're looking to make a switch in one. And here comes the 47 of Arnold with help from Cadell. They're going to go all the way up to that outside wall to try to capitalize on that switch. 31 staying to that left rear of the 47. They are looking like they're going to make that pass with the momentum. And now here comes the 36 of Rich Jett. He's getting a shot from the 25 of Nick Silver. They're going to go into the middle. 31 almost comes down. That's Cadell almost making it 4 wide. He's going to go back up the hill. And the 25 disconnecting from the 36. Here comes the 91 and the 44, and they're grouping back up.
Yeah, it looked as though maybe Jonathan Cadell was needing to make a switch, or maybe he just kind of misjudged where the entry was. Bill Tomer slides up in the middle of the tri-oval. I tell you, you just saw that 5-car of Tomer getting really loose coming through there, and there's actually a groove at the bottom lane of the tri-oval here, where if your right rear kind of gets cut or get caught in that rut, it is extremely loose. It could send you literally spinning into the infield. And so Tomer saving his car, getting out of there, but that's probably the loosest place on this track for these drivers, and that's a trouble spot. But these guys, a lot of great racing in the middle of the pack. We saw Nick Silver and Rich Jett with that great run as a switch right in front of Britt Van Meter as the 47 of Arnold comes down to meet up with Cadell. The guys behind have to check up, and they do, so no contact is made. But another close call. These switches, when you're in a pack, just very hairy out there.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody that races on the iRacing service can attest to how loose that tri-oval is on that bottom lane. I mean, that tri-oval 16.5 degrees of banking is almost a completely separate turn. And if you have your force feedback on, you can feel the car trying to step out from underneath you if you're running down on that yellow line. Again, working lap 20 right now. They got 27 car. That is Guy Snyder, the in fourth position now, side by side for the lead. Reporting that he is hot, so he's got to back off, cool that engine down. So if we take a look back up front right now, race leader at the moment, Chad Cole and the 8 machine with help from LeVere are going to be able to hold off that 58 and the 27, as again, Snyder trying to keep that engine cool as those temperatures got a little bit too hot for comfort early in the going.
Yeah, we saw Snyder and Wilson working together really well, but that's the price you pay if you stay hooked up a little bit too long without switching, is that temperature, as they pull off the switch right there. And as the top 4, these top 2 tandem pulling away from the rest of the field, Ritter and Vincent just not able to keep up right now, and which puts them into a mix with a lot of other cars racing hard for position from 6th on back to about 12th. As we see a switch up front right now. That's CJ LeVere going to take the lead. Chad Cole going to be the designated pusher at this point as our leaders go and pass John Abbott, the 10 car, severely damaged running an old school Ricky Rudd paint scheme. So Abbott crawling around, which is a frustrating feeling. You get involved in one of these wrecks earlier, and then it feels like you're just highway driving for the rest of the night. So that's going to be a long night for John Abbott, staying out there for points. But CJ LeVere, leader of that lap, as we're about a fourth of the way through this race.
Things pretty tame, so to speak, right now. Take a look at the 5th place car. It's Dwayne Vincent in the 13. His drafting partner is the 16 of Steve Ritter. Behind them, 2 wide, about 3 cars deep, led by that 57 of Ryan Vaughn. And leading that outside lane is the 38 of Bratcher. Again, a lot of pack racing. A simple mistake could really throw a wrench into this race and cause that such deviated, a big one, I guess you could say. But right now in the mid part of this race, drivers are really hoping for a green flag run again. Most drivers won't mind getting out of here with a top 10 and a race car that's in one piece. But unfortunately, that's not normally the way it goes here at Dega.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of these drivers also looking at it as, hey, this is my opportunity to get a victory. Maybe I haven't had the speed at some of the 1.5 milers or the short tracks. Coming up below, we've got Phoenix and then two bigger speedways with a lot of speed. And so this is a race that really opens the floodgates, where if you can master this different style of racing, you could get yourself your win on the year. And so a lot of guys looking to do just that. But as we've seen with these tandems, as actually a switch going on, a couple of lap cars above this pack, a lot of guys go into that low line and keep things pretty safe as they work around the 88 of Roberts and the 04 of King, I believe. But this is a style of racing where it actually lets Vincent and Cole and a lot of these guys stay out of the trouble. When it's more tandem related than pack related, these guys are doing a good job of, they can keep themselves out front and usually out of harm's way, but they're so on edge with how they're pushing each other that you're never really safe in this style of racing.
I'll tell you right now, those top 4 drivers, being the 4 Lavera, the 8 of Cole, the 58 of Wilson, and the 27 of Snyder, have over a 3-second gap to where that big line of long cars on that inside lane is, led by the 13 of Dwayne Vincent in the 5th position. These guys have really broken away, just making clean swaps, getting into their 2-car tandem, and just riding around trying to gain time on that pack. You look at that last lap, both groups up there switched, and they gained 0.2 of a second on that pack. So those top 4 drivers definitely executing and playing it smart and doing what they need to do here early in the going.
Part of what's helping them out is they're not really racing each other terribly hard. The second tandem of Guy Snyder and Justin Wilson, they're staying in line with the leaders of Lavera and Cole. And so you get all 4 of those cars in a line, but having them as 2 separate tandems, and they're really just carrying a lot of speed. Meanwhile, in that second pack, 3.5 seconds behind the leader, there's just a lot more racing going on, and so that's how they're losing a lot of time. And so the top 4 in the race right now building themselves a buffer zone so that when they come down to pit road, they can hopefully get matched up. If there's a little bit of a difference between them and their partner, between how fast they can get off of pit road, as they do a little synchronized switching, Cole back up to the lead, Wilson back in front of Snyder. They got that worked out pretty well right there. But when they come down pit road, it gives them a buffer zone where they can give up a little bit. They don't need to fly into entry and risk speeding, and they can just take it easy. And as the lead builds to over 4 seconds on 5th place right now.
Take a look at the gap there not too long ago, and a lot of racing you mentioned back there, and that's mainly why they continue to lose ground now, over 4.1 seconds back off of those leaders. I know one driver that wants to play strategy here, taking a look at the gap right now, but the 15 of Rhett McBride came over the radio and said, we just need to ride in line and try to catch these guys, but they are staying 2-3 wide, continuing to shuffle from 5th on back. And again, that's all that is doing, is allowing those top 4 to basically run away with this thing now, over 4.6 seconds gap between the 4th place car of the 27 of Snyder and the 5th place car being the 26 of Gonzalez.
Yeah, when there's a lot of cars all grouped together, what really brings that racing about is the timing of the switches is usually very different. And so you'll see a tandem really catch another tandem really quickly as maybe a tandem that just switched tries to get their speed back up. And so you probably lose more momentum by hanging in line in that scenario. It's a situation where you want to get the switches just almost simultaneous so that you can lose the least possible amount of time. And we saw the top 4 in the race do just that about 3 laps ago. And that's just simply how they're able to pull this off right now. As more switching going on, hanging around the 5th and 6th position there, as almost 3 wide on the backstretch here, just a lot of fanning out. And it's just when you're not smooth like that, as Dwayne Vincent's like, you know what, I'm going to get out of here. The 13 car pulls low and puts it on the apron before rejoining the surface right in turn number 3. And so Vincent taking the safe way out. I think he was maybe a little bit spooked by what just happened there, going on the backstretch with a little bit of fanning out there. But it just continues to grow. 4.8 seconds is the advantage right now, and it's going to grow this lap to possibly over 5 between the top 4 to 5th place.
And definitely, we do have some cars laps down right now. The top 29 cars are on the lead lap. Drivers that are 1 lap down or more. You have the 88 of Adam Roberts, 30th position, a lap down, along with the 04 of Mike King. John Abbott, 8 laps down. And then Marvin Turnmeyer Jr. and Barry Hines, who were involved in that first wreck, are out of the race. Behind the wall, 22 laps down. Again, those leaders still running single file and 2-car cams, but almost working together. Over 6 seconds now is their lead over 5th. They're working that draft masterfully, and I mean, it put them in a great spot if this thing were to go green all the way. I don't really think that's going to happen, but why not get as much as late as you can, because that can give them a little bit more of a cushion when they want to come down to make pit stops. They can get on the brakes a little bit easier, knowing that they have a 6-second cushion, and they can make sure that they don't speed into pit road. So in the end, it's just a win-win situation for them, and again, they continue to pull away. However, these guys now 5th on back, starting the single file out, but I think they want to do some more racing.
Yeah, absolutely, and what Cole and the number 8 car really enjoys about this as well is the drivers up there in the lead pack. The closest to him in points is the gentleman that he's working with, LeVere, in the 4 cars, 3rd in points, about 30 points back, 32, I believe. Meanwhile, Guy Snyder and Justin Wilson have a lot of ground to make up to really get involved in this in that fight for the number 1 position in points. And so Chad Cole's main competition simply not up there with them right now, which he's really enjoying, I would imagine. And so, but all these drivers, chase drivers in the top 4 regardless, know what they're doing, and they've extended that lead onto to 5th place by 6.5 seconds at this point. And it's really interesting how these races shake out, because a lot of times you show up at Talladega, you have a 30-car truck field, and then it ends up going green all the way sometimes. A lot of these drivers are pretty familiar with this style of racing, and it seems to promote cautionless races more than you or I would even guess. I ran a 30 truck race here not long ago, went green all the way, and these drivers are certainly familiar with each other. As we see more switches up front, Chad Cole going to retake that lead from CJ LeVere, as Snyder and Wilson do the simultaneous switch right behind them, and they extend their lead that lap to 7.5 seconds. So it just continues. The top 4 just working together like clockwork.
And definitely on board right now with CJ LeVere up front and your race leader. Again, that was such a synchronized swap. I don't know, they might be able to earn an Olympic gold medal for that. But as we continue to ride around under our green flag run right now, let's take a quick moment to talk about ETV Live. Again, ETV Live, the only choice in simulation auto racing broadcasting since 2008. ETV has produced over 700 shows for over 220,000 viewers. ETV Live has pioneered and engineered some of the best innovations in the online auto sports broadcasting with 3 pricing packages available. Book yours today. The industry experts, ETV Live, it's the only choice. Contact us at www.etv-eplay.net or ETV Live at etv-eplay.net for more information.
As it appears that the cars, the big pack from 5th all the way back to 14th have actually ended up getting single file. I think they're trying to work together a little better than they were before. Dwayne Vincent and Steve Ritter working together at the back of this pack, actually looking high right now. But these drivers, I think, making more of a concerted effort to not lose as much time. But I tell you what, the last time they came around, the leaders all switched, and they still pulled 4/10. As actually we see a couple of cars go high. We might be side by side here in this second pack. This time by, they lose another 4/10 to the leaders. So, I mean, that's just such a testament to how well Chad Cole, CJ LeVere working together, as well as the 15 of Justin Wilson and the 27 of Guy Snyder. Really incredible when you can see 4 just run away from the field in a race like this.
For class of the field, for sure, are those top 4 drivers. However, it's starting to get a lot more racy from 5th on back. Side by side, several rows deep right now. Ryan Vaughn on the inside with help from Gonzalez are under attack by the 31 of Cadell and the 47 car of Eric Arnold on the top. Vincent and Ritter are also making an appearance there on the top, trying to make something work. They gave up on that single file, I guess, wanted to pick up a couple more positions as laps continue to tick off right now, working in the green flag conditions on lap number 35 of 88. So we're almost on the downhill side of things here at Talladega. 3 wide as Vincent and Ritter make their swap. But these guys, I mean, even when they were single file, they were not catching those leaders. The leaders 8.4 seconds ahead. Just such speed shown by those guys, and keeping their composure, running their race, and obviously taking a smart strategy to this. Mike King, the 04, slow on the back straightaway, down there below the apron. Not too sure what is with that, but the 04 of Mike King blew up actually. That last lap pushing 88 of Roberts, so the 04 of Mike King has blown his engine. He is coasting on the apron in turns number 3 and 4, so that's going to bring a premature end to his night, unfortunately, for that Ford team.
Yeah, that's the first engine failure we've seen tonight, and Mike King had some damage to the right side of his vehicle, where that might have affected his radiator if he had gotten into the back of someone earlier in the race, which can make your car more likely to blow up. But that leaves the 88 of Adam Roberts out to dry, and Adam sustained some damage in that first caution period, or our only caution period up to this point of the race. And so both those guys just working together, hoping to get back on the lead lap, should have caution fall. But Mike King falls to an engine failure, and I think he will become the fourth driver to be out of the race and behind the wall as he comes to a stop in his pit stall. We'll soon find out that he probably is going to have to retire. Jimmy North, the 84 on pit road, he was running, he now loses a lap. He was running towards the back of the pack, but he's on pit road without any help, so he's going to merge back and lose a lot of time should he not be able to find someone to work with. But the lead grows. It's actually 9 seconds back to 5th place right now. These drivers just all in a big pack. Actually, it's the 13 of Vincent and the 16 of Ritter making a big charge through the middle. Went 3 wide in the middle underneath Gonzalez and Vaughn, and they just gain a lot of spots with this incredible run that they're on right now. And I think they laid back for a little bit, decided, you know what, I think they're safe enough now, and started to make a big push forward.
Well, the fuel strategy talk is starting to begin for your leaders. Just overheard a radio conversation between the 27 of Snyder and the 58 of Wilson running in 3rd and 4th, debating if they were going to pit with the leaders or stay out. Remember that after that first caution early on in the going, both the 27 and the 58 came down to top off on fuel. So they have a little bit more gas than that 8 and the 4 car. So they're debating if they will stay out longer, or if they will come down with those leaders. Now, you touched on that the 84 of Jimmy North was down pit road by himself. Pit road is a whole other demon here at Talladega, because you got to slow down from speeds over 200 miles an hour to get down to pit road. Granted, it's the fastest pit road speed out of any of the tracks that these guys visit, but it's a long way to get onto those brakes and not a lot of time to do it. And you want to come in with a partner, so when you're coming down there, you're getting hard on the brakes, the car wants to lock up those tires. Anything can happen if you come down with a big group of cars, so getting on the pit road is also very treacherous at this racetrack.
Yeah, that second pack from 5th all the way back to 14th or 18th at this point. 5th all the way back to 18th is going to be the pack to watch, because a lot of those cars are going to come in on the same lap. As actually the 43 car we see get a little bit of a twitch, ends up on the apron after contact from the 13 and the 16 as they did a switch. Just got kind of bumper hooked there, but another great save by Doug Roth, the second time this evening.
And again, those are the incidents that can so easily cause a big pile, and these guys have been getting lucky for all the cars that we've seen sideways, somehow managing to hang on to it, and everybody else managing to avoid it without getting run over by the people behind them. So everybody's definitely got, everyone's paying attention in this race and is doing that great. But it is official, that top 4 is 10 seconds ahead of everybody else. You take a look at the 26, Jose Gonzalez, his drafting partner, the 57 of Ryan Vaughn, less than 10 laps of fuel in the tank. So green flag pit stops at Talladega are going to be coming up here shortly.
And these drivers want to be able to make it all the way to the end just on this one stop, as we're going to be at halfway in another 3 laps. And so not sure how close these drivers are who did not decide to pit on the first caution. I think they might be pretty close on fuel to make it on just one stop. But the 27 of Snyder and the 58 of Wilson, who did come down and topped off 6 laps into the race, as you mentioned, they should be in pretty good shape as far as making on one stop. Not exactly sure what the fuel mileage numbers look like, but certainly green flag pit stops right around the corner. Maybe not this lap, but coming up really soon. And those guys in that middle pack from 5th all the way back to 18th. They're going to really have to watch themselves coming down to pit road.
That will be a tricky situation. Taking a look, again, those leaders in excess of 10 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Again, he's going to give them a bumper when they come down pit road so that they can take it a little bit more easy. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see somebody from that middle pack get spun coming down pit road, because with all those cars, obviously, if you're running in the middle of that pack, you see the guys in front of you pit, you're faster in this big group, so they're hoping that if they pit as a group and they go back out in a big tandem, that you will be able to get more speed. So they're obviously probably going to drop down with those guys at that same time, and that's what could cause things to get pretty crazy. When green flag pit stops do start, we will go side by side. We'll have a pit entrance cam also, so that we can keep an eye on all the developments there. But those laps continue to wind down. The drivers right now talking on the radio, in closed radio chatter and open radio chatter, what they're going to do with their partner. They're going to figure it out. We're hearing that the 12 car is going to come down pit road. That's Douglas Wyatt. He is the last car on the lead lap. Him and Brennan Mercer, both 36 seconds back, along with Wilco and Fleming. 2, however, down on pit road right now. It is Bill Tomer and his drafting partner coming down pit road, along with him and that Blue Moon Chevrolet of the 11 of Van Meter. The 91 of Gottschalk announcing that he is going to come down pit road next lap as well.
Yeah, so a lot of these drivers who are pitting now simply will not be able to make it to the finish without either a gas and go stop or quite a bit of fuel saving, because the drivers who have not pitted had the benefit of that early caution where they were able to ride under yellow, save fuel for a couple of laps. And so as the 16 car of Steve Ritter enters pit road, I think we have a car around. That's the 57 of Ryan Vaughn, able to get it beneath that commitment cone where he should be okay, but he actually slides again on the entry to pit road. That's going to slow down the 66 of Brian Harvey, who has to check up for him. No caution's going to come out there because he was able to bring it to pit road, but a lot of these guys in the middle of the pack coming on down, including the 13 of Vincent, the 16 of Ritter, as well as the 26 of Gonzalez, the 43 of Roth, and others.
You saw that there in that pit road cam. The 57 just had to get on the brakes a little bit harder with the 26 in the way and spun it out. And that even comes with trouble when you only pit with one other person. And now he will be leaving pit road without his drafting partner, and his drafting partner will be without one. The leaders, however, are down pit road. Guy Snyder and Justin Wilson staying out with that extra fuel. So CJ LeVere and Chad Cole are going to come down pit road. Let's take a look to see how they negotiate these stops. It is going to be Cole going into his pit box first to get Sunoco fuel and possibly some fresh Goodyear tires. The right side's going up on both of those race cars right now. Back down left side is going to go up here. Actually, Chad Cole and both of them are only going to take 2 tires on that right side, and they are out. Pretty good stop for the 4 and the 8. They leave together.
Yeah, pretty much without tires being the factor here. You get tires just for good measure if you're going to be on pit road long enough that you have the ability to. And so with them filling up these fuel tanks, they have the ability to take 2 tires, not lose any time, but getting a full 4-tire stop might slow the pit stop down a couple of seconds. Obviously, every second is valuable. So good pit road entry, a good pit road exit. So we see the 8 of Cole, the 4 of LeVere merging back out on the track. Meanwhile, Wilson in the 58, Snyder in the 27 still out there. They're going to stretch this as long as they can, because if they're able, as we watch them now, probably a couple laps still away from their pit stop, they can probably go another 2 or 3 laps by my calculations. If they're able to turn this into a 1 pit stop race, they're one of the few, and they would have quite a margin on the rest of the field. And so that's a strategy that they're willing to stay on right now, because those drivers have a lot to gain, and this could be a great opportunity to do just that.
And definitely over the radio, just that last lap, discussing 2 tires on pit road, just trying to make sure they have everything calculated. Remember, it's not unfamiliar that we'll see somebody come down pit road, forget to relay that message to their crew and to change those settings on the iRacing service, and accidentally sign up for 4 tires and then botch that entire pit stop and possibly the race. So they need to make sure that in these coming laps they get prepared for that. As again, those 2 now are the leaders with a 9-second gap over the 3rd and 4th place car. The 29 of Mercer announcing that him and John Wilco will come down pit road this next time by those guys running in the 13th and 14th position. So it is pit stops in full force right now and trying to figure things out. Again, you take a look at our leaders that had that 10-second gap. Chad Cole CJ LeVere. They are 44 seconds off of the leader, so only 5 seconds save them from going a lap down. So some of these guys that are 19 seconds back, if they make a pit stop and an untimely caution comes out, they'll be forced to take a wave around even if they don't make it down pit road, so that'll be a tough break for those guys also. So just another thing to keep an eye on at Talladega, as we've already seen one driver go around trying to get down to speed.
Yeah, with the way the strategy is playing out, a wave around wouldn't even be guaranteed, because some of these guys, when they're good enough on fuel, might vow to never pit again, keep their car as light as it could be the rest of the race, and that's good for a little bit of extra speed. We see a couple more cars coming down pit road. That is the 29 Martz and the 62 Wilco. John Wilco running Derek Cope's 1990 colors, the Purelator car that actually won the 1990 Daytona 500 and the 1990 Dover race as well, that many people forget. But those two coming down this time by, we see Wilson and Snyder still out there. And so I think that it is pretty safe to say that they will be able to go this race on one pit stop from here. They will not need to come back down again. They should be in their window when they come down. And I think they're still maybe a lap or two away. I think they're going to stay out this time by, maybe come down on 50 or 51, which will make it about a 38 lap run that they have to go. And they've got more than that at this point right now. And actually the 27 and the 58 going to come down pit road this time. They should be safe on gas. They're actually working their way around the 82. I believe that's Doug Fleming, the 27, having to check up a little bit and gets in line behind his teammate there. He was working with the 58 of Wilson. They were able to do that without any incident. Both cars on pit road now. I think you'll see the same strategy as Chad Cole and CJ Blair. Likely right sides, if tires at all, get it full and bounce on your way to pit road exit.
And definitely by not taking the 4 tires and getting that thing full of fuel, they'll save themselves about 3 seconds, but it takes so much time to get the fuel in it that right side tires is the logical thing to do. Taking a look to see what they're going to do on pit road. They have the 2 tires. They are off together now. It's going to be interesting to see how fast they can get up the speed and where they will be on the racetrack once they cycle back around and Chad Cole and CJ LeVere show up to see which of the 2 made the better pit stops. So let's see as Snyder and Wilson get up to speed right now in turn number 1. About 7 car lengths separate them as the 27 drags the brake a little bit to let that 58 of Justin Wilson catch back up to them so that they can get hooked back up and get going. The advantage that LeVere and Cole will have is they've been hooked up for a while already to this point. Snyder, Wilson now on the racetrack on the bottom line, just getting hooked up. And about a second behind them, here comes LeVere and Chad Cole. So it looks like that they're going to be able to hang on to those number 1 and 2 spots after that pit stop. Obviously not being shown in that position right now, as Bratcher and McBride, the last 2 that needed to make their pit stops, are down pit road. So after everything cycles through, the top 4 are right back where they were, side by side.
Yeah, that was the 27, as you mentioned, had to back off to let the 58 hook back up with him. And coming through 1 and 2, I could have sworn the 4 of LeVere, the 8 of Cole were on such a run that they were going to be able to fly on by. But these cars do, they get up to speed relatively quickly. Snyder and Wilson able to stay ahead of them. They actually lead that lap as pit stops cycle on through. The sequence just about completed, as our top 4 remain the top 4 after these cycles. But of course, we think the 27, the 58 can make it on fuel. Not so sure about the 4 of LeVere and the 8 of Cole, and that could be a big factor if we come down to the end of this race and fuel strategy comes into play. That could have some big championship implications right there. But Snyder and Wilson did a great job to be able to come out of there with the lead, as they actually pull away just a little bit from Cole and LeVere, as Cole and LeVere just switched moments ago.
Big move for the 47 of Eric Arnold, negotiating his way around the 5 car of Bill Tomer. Actually, rather the 15, my apologies, of Brett McBride making a switch with his partner, Mark Bratcher. That was almost a close incident back there. So when it's all said and done, again, our leaders are the top 4. This time, they're 11.5 seconds ahead of the 5th place car. Will things shake up in the second half of the race at Talladega SuperSpeedway? Again, we're working lap number 52 of 88. We're going to give you your full field rundown right now as they run. Guy Snyder the 4th in the 1st position. Justin Wilson sitting in the 2nd spot. Chad Cole 3rd. CJ LeVere in the 4th spot. Eric Arnold in 5th. 6th position belongs to Jonathan Cadell. 7th place, Brett McBride. Mark Bratcher in the 8th spot. 9th is Steve Ritter, and running up the top 10 is the 13 of Dwayne Vincent.
Running 11th right now in that pack. That second pack is Rich Jett, along with him, the 25 of Nick Silver. Those two have been working with each other most of the race. And then we have a 4-car pack, 16 seconds behind the leader. That's the 11 of Britt Van Dieter, working with the 5 of Bill Tomer. And then right behind them, we have Doug Roth in the 43 with Jose Gonzalez in the 26. Rounding out the top 20, we've got a couple of cars working together. It's the 33 of Dave Lanza, along with the 44 Glenn Campbell. And the 2-car Ronnie Potts hanging with them as well. And then rounding out the top 20 is the 78 of Keith Brooks Jr., 40 seconds behind the leader right now.
Steve Godstock rather in the 21st spot, also 40 seconds back. Then 3 more cars, 42 back is 22nd spot John Wilco, 23rd Brendan Mercer, and 24th Ryan Vaughn. Then a handful of cars 1 lap down, being in the 25th spot is the 12 of Douglas Wyatt, 26th the 82 of Doug Fleming. Cale Dresbach in at 27th. 28th is Jimmy North. 2 laps down in 29th is Adam Roberts. And the 66 of Brian Harvey in the 30th position, 7 laps down, out and behind the wall.
Yeah, and Ryan Vaughn in the 57 is going to actually fall a lap down soon because he was the odd man out. He was hanging with John Wilco and Brendan Mercer, but those two have been working with each other. Ryan Vaughn completely alone on the track right now, along with Jimmy North is all alone on the track right now, but as they say, 1 is the loneliest number, and that's how Ryan Vaughn and Jimmy North and a handful of others feel right about now.
And definitely so. Out of the 34 cars that started this race, only 24 remain on the lead lap after a lot of green flag racing at the Talladega Superspeedway. Again, the 4 stories of 33-degree banking have only bit 2 guys so far tonight, but we've definitely seen a lot of side-by-side racing all night long. But in the end, the guys that are prevailing at this point are the guys that are playing it smart. And again, have worked a 11-second gap over the rest of the field. We're side by side for 5th. Let's take a look. The 47 of Eric Arnold being pushed by the 31 of Cadell on that inside line are going to be able to hang on. 38 of Bratcher with help from the 15 of McBride. Tried to make an attack there on the high line. However, the 15 McBride could not stay glued to the back bumper of Bratcher as he was getting hot. So they're going to make a switch going into 1, and that really messes up their momentum, which is going to allow that 31 and 47 to scoot on away after they just tried to push it a little bit too hard, and the 15 had to get off to avoid blowing his engine because there's still several laps to go here at Talladega. Over 30 remain.
Yeah, just another 2 or 3 laps from now will be 30 to go. These laps just clicking off. These drivers are moving around here 47 seconds around Talladega. That's a lap average of over 202, 203 miles an hour. So these cars are moving around here as the 16 of Ritter and the 13 of Vincent continue to work together. Right now they're above the 15 of McBride, who's still working with the 38 of Bratcher, as they were able to pull that switch off. So McBride leading that pack, as these drivers going to work underneath the 12 of Douglas Wyatt. One of those cars alone right now, and simply it just goes to show you just how much of a difference these cars are in speed when you're working with a tandem partner, or a partner in tandem, versus not having anyone at all. These cars are not unrestricted. They have about 500 horsepower rather than the 850, 900, and so you're just playing with the air more than anything.
That is the trick to get into the victory lane at the Talladega Superspeedway, is can you figure out that draft? Again, the draft on the iRacing service, many differences from what the Gen 6 cars act like in real life. Again, we've seen the tandem draft much more prominent with this setup that they have on the iRacing race cars, which has again allowed that 58-27-8-4 to break away from the pack. We continue to ride around right now. Let's take a quick moment to thank another sponsor here at ETVLIVE, Inside Sim Racing, sponsoring the Thursday Night Real Sim Racing Asphalt Assault Series. The Inside Sim Racing, your first and best choice for all news and reviews in online motorsports. Join Darren Ganji, Sean Cole for the latest and greatest in product reviews, simulation auto racing games for the PC and the Xbox crowd. From steering wheels to full-size racing rigs, updates on popular racing games, and a whole lot more, they are the yellow pages of the online auto racing community. Inside Sim Racing has it all. Check them out at www.isrtv.com.
Yeah, and if you're one of the few who has never checked out Inside Sim Racing, very entertaining. They often have those 30-minute web episodes uploaded to YouTube. Entertaining stuff, whether it's you're into road racing, oval racing, pretty much any type of racing. If there's a game with it, they usually talk about it. So entertaining stuff there. Two gentlemen who do a lot for the sim racing community, as they could continue to dice here in the second pack. A lot of movement. We see Cadell working with Eric Arnold. Eric Arnold, by the way, that 47 car, really bringing back memories. That's Terry Labonte's paint scheme from the 1995-1996 era. Looking good, with a little bit of nose damage, though, from all that bump drafting. But right now, the top four not able to extend their lead, but that lead is 11 seconds. And so the guys in the second pack desperately need a caution to have a chance at winning this race, unless the leaders have problems of some sort. But not able to really pull away. Actually, that lap, as the leaders were probably switching up there, which they were, the second pack able to gain about 0.3 of a second, narrows the gap to about 11.0 seconds behind the leaders. But simply, they just don't have the momentum to be able to drive on up there.
Yeah, no, those leaders, the reason that they got up to such that lead is because they picked this work together strategy before the rest of the field tried to pick it up, and by the time that they tried to implement that strategy from 5th on back, it was just too late. As Cole, Lavere, Snyder, Wilson, they all ran away with this thing. And again, people 5th on back, they need a caution if they want any chance, unless the four leaders take each other out in the late going. Remember, this is Talladega. Your car doesn't even need to have some sheet metal on it to go to the victory lane here, but they're definitely going to need a lot of help, and somebody that needs a lot of help, Dwayne Vincent, running in 8th spot, Chad Cole in 4th. It's only a 4-point difference, but every point counts. But remember, after tonight, only 4 races would remain in the chase, going up to the season finale at Homestead in just over a month here. So this is really, again, the race that those guys in the points 3rd on back, like a CJ Lavera, Jose Gonzalez, and Ronnie Potts, they need Vincent and Cole to have bad luck and a bad finish here if they want a shot going into these next few weeks. Again, anything is still possible, but it's not looking that way now. Again, a pretty tame Talladega race from what we have seen so far.
Yeah, and I'm sure Dwayne Vincent probably has to be a little bit frustrated, because he knows he and Steve Ritter are working together well enough that they could have kept up with those leaders, and they were for quite a while. And my memory right now not working too well, but Steve Ritter had some sort of issue where he lost a lot of momentum. I think he got loose off of another car, bumper hooked off of another car. And so Dwayne Vincent had to back up a little bit, peck up Steve Ritter, and at that point they were 3 seconds behind the leader. And of course they were 3 seconds behind the leader. The leader had 4 cars all together, but Dwayne and Steve Ritter were alone. And so they started dropping until that second pack picks them up, where 8 cars usually runs better than 2. And so that's how they lost all their momentum. And so Dwayne Vincent desperately wants a caution, because he knows Chad Cole's up there, and he knows Chad Cole has a great shot at winning this race. And certainly giving up another 10 points is not what he wants to do, because when you're within 10 points of the leader, you have a great shot at racing it out pretty much heads up. But 20 points, you need a little bit of help. Because Chad Cole has the ability to run top 2, top 3 every race the rest of the season, and that would lock it up for him if the positions were to remain the same right now.
And definitely, again, it's still the same story that it's been all night. The top 4 now with a 12.3 second gap back to the 5th position. We are going to go to another commercial break and come back to try to wrap things up here at Talladega Superspeedway after a long night of green flag racing. This is ETV Live's continuing coverage of the 2013 RSR Full Throttle Cup Series presented by Bob Earl Racing. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Plus other listeners where you could hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV Live Sports Radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Back here at the Talladega Superspeedway, the green flag is still out right now. Taking a look at the battle of them in the middle of the pack right now, starting to heat up as we are 2 wide, almost 3 wide, with 25 of Nick Silver leading on that inside line with help from the 36 of Jet, but 3 cars on the top are trying to spoil that party. Again, right now, ETV Live's live coverage of the 2013 Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series continuing tonight with Race 6 of the Chase. My name is Pasoko, again up in the booth with me, Harrison Weidlitz. Harrison, a pretty tame Talladega race to say the least so far to this point tonight. Again, 67 laps right now in the books of 88 to this point. Right now, again, taking a look still at this whole middle group right now. About 10, or actually 8 cars rather, making up that middle group. Positions 5th through, I want to say 12th. And then actually, these guys have broken away from an even bigger pack. Let's take a quick look at the intervals as we keep an eye on this middle group. Those top 4 drivers, 13 seconds ahead of 5th. And then that group of 5th to 12th has another 11 seconds back to the 11 of Britt Van Meter, who's 25 seconds off of the race lead in 13th. So again, that middle pack breaking away, but are still far away from the leaders. And again, very uncharacteristic green flag runs at the Talladega Superspeedway has this field really spread out and has almost in upwards of 6-7 cars a lap down.
Yeah, and right now, Justin Wilson and Guy Snyder working together well enough that they put a second on the second tandem of the 8 of Cole, the 4 of LeVere, as they've worked through this lap traffic. Looks like Cole and LeVere are on a big run right now where they're going to catch back up to Wilson and Snyder. But certainly any advantage will be put to use. Last time we crossed the start-finish line, it is officially 20 laps to go. This race just trucking along. 14 seconds on 5th place from the top 4, as we see more cars going a lap down, including that 91 of Steve Gottschalk, who is working with the 78 of Keith Brooks. Right now, they're running 20th and 21st, but this is a 4-horse race right now, as these drivers just try to figure out, just how close they are on fuel. I think we're going to have to see a number of guys come down and gas and go with about 5 or 6 laps to go, but they're going to stretch it as far as they can take it, I would think. Although Steve Ritter and Dwayne Vincent decided, you know what, let's go down and top off right now. They're on the apron coming out of pit road as we see the leaders fly on by as they're actually switching. But Vincent and Ritter probably think, you know what, let's get this done early and out of the way so that it could be just us and merge back into traffic rather than have to worry about possibly pitting with a lot of cars together. So that's a strategy to stay safe right there.
And again, that comes down to those guys that pitted a little bit earlier on our leaders that stretched it so that they could make it to the end, at least they think. I'm sure they're taking a look at their numbers, and they're probably about a lap or 2 to the good considering when those guys came down pit road, especially LeVere and Cole, who did not pit after the first caution to top off, were still able to make it to that halfway point. So it will be close, but with no green-white checkers on the iRacing servers, they should be good until that checkered flag flies. Again, 17 cars on the lead lap, and then positions all the way back to 27th, 1 lap down, but not because they have been wrecked, just because of the way this race has gone. That's 10 cars 1 lap down, including Vincent back in 23rd right now. Again, short pitting to top off on that, just a little bit more fuel that he needs to make it to the finish. The 78 of Keith Brooks Jr. in 19th, also talking that he's going to come down, top off, no tires, just get a splash to make it to the end. And that's what happens when some of these guys were obviously hoping to get a caution so they could save fuel and try to make it to the end, just could not do that, and that's what is resulting here in these pit stops.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how close our 2 leaders are right now. The 58 of Wilson, 27 of Snyder. They might be a little bit close on fuel, but I want to say that they're pretty safe, because if they have to save, they would have saved a little bit already. If not, maybe they did already. Especially working through the lap traffic, they were able to use that draft to their advantage. But right now, the advantage is 15 seconds. So even if they are close, I think they realize that the 8 of Cole, the 4 of LeVere directly behind them is going to have to pit. So they have a 15-second buffer zone. If they are close on fuel, they could run out pretty much on the final lap and still coast across the line for victory. But of course, a caution flag could change everything. We've got a lot of cars racing each other pretty hard, and so there's no guarantee that this could go green the rest of the way, although this race really has a green flag look to it.
And definitely a very interesting look for Talladega for sure. Again, let's take a look at the battle right now brewing behind the number 47 of Eric Arnold in a Kellogg Chevrolet for tonight's race. He has help from the number 31 car behind him being Jonathan Cadell. So those two running 5th and 6th. Along then the 15 and the 38 running on the top. And you also have the 25 of Nick Silver on the bottom with the 36 of Rich Jett. These guys is pretty much all what's left of that second pack that used to be about 10 cars. These 6 guys consistently 15 seconds back, and then again you have to go to 11th spot. Britt Van Meter 27 seconds back is that third pack, and then a whole bunch of cars a lap down. So right now our leaders are looking pretty good. You mentioned how they could go half this lap coast at the end of the race to make it to the start-finish line and still pick up a win. Definitely very well executed driving by those top 4 so far, and it's showing off. I mean, they just continue to chip off time and gain, again, up to 15 seconds at this point over the 5th place car, Eric Arnold.
Yeah, and the reason for that separation, where we had before pit stops 5th through 18th were pretty much all within 2 seconds, and now they've all become like 3 or 4 different packs. 5th through 12th, or 5th through 10th is that pack, just 6 cars in the running right there, 3 different tandems. And so that's directly because of the pit stops that we had. The 6 drivers from 5th through 10th were able to get on and off of pit road simply faster than a lot of their competitors. And then it just compounds when you're all alone out there, or you only have one partner to work with no other cars to provide draft to feed off of. And so that's really how you lose a lot of time here. It seems easy that, hey, I can keep up with this draft, but then just the slightest little, maybe a second or 2 that you lose on pit road entry or exit, that could be all the difference in the world. You find yourself 20 seconds behind the pack just a few short laps later. And so there's no margin for error, simply.
And definitely, again, taking a look at the results from the Talladega Superspeedway race that occurred earlier on in the 2013 RSR campaign. That race was won by Steve Ritter with an interval time of 0.02 of a second over Eric Brundy's. So definitely in contrast to tonight's race. In that race, the top 29 cars on the lead lap. Obviously, that race filled with a couple more cautions than this one for sure. Again, only 1 caution tonight. Happened earlier on in the race. 3 cars stacking up on the top side sent 1 man around. That was the 18 of Barry Hines, in almost a strange incident. That's it. Other than that, we've seen a whole bunch of guys get sideways and go from that top lane down to the yellow line in the middle of packs, but everybody has been able to hang on to it for now. And again, that's what is so different about this race as opposed to what you would normally expect from a Talladega race. The wild card race is looking pretty tame. One more wild card race you could say on the schedule is going to be next weekend. We go to the Martinsville Speedway. So from the biggest track to the smallest track, we're bumper banging. And it couldn't be any more different than the kind of bumper banging that we're seeing here tonight.
Yeah, you couldn't contrast 2 tracks any more than the differences between Martinsville Speedway and Talladega Superspeedway. Obviously, Martinsville going to be very interesting. Just a straight-up short track racing, a lot of point-and-shoot driving, hard on the brakes, hard on the gas. You're worried more about tire spin than draft there. And but I tell you, looking at the 13 of Dwayne Vincent right now, still working with the 16 of Ritter. They're alongside the 29 of Mercer, the 62 of Wilco. I'm worried about Vincent here because short-pitting that strategy, I think, should we catch a caution, there's a good chance that Wilson and Snyder stay out. Pretty sure they can make it on fuel, and they know that if they keep Dwayne Vincent a lap down, they're going to gain a lot of points in this title fight. So I think Vincent, in a way, if he was on the lead lap, he'd be hoping for a caution, but right now I think they need the race to stay green for him to be able to get a lot of spots back. So that's it's a bit of a catch-22 situation for Dwayne Vincent. I think he's going to lose points tonight on, but one thing in his favor is that Cole and LeVere, I believe, are short on fuel, so the order will mix up a little bit.
John Abbott going behind the wall after sustaining damage earlier on in the going. Remember, he said he was riding around highway driving. He has given up on that in the late going here. You look at Dwayne Vincent, 23rd right now. Chad Cole, 4th. That's 19 positions different. Give Cole a bonus point for leading a lap. That's 20 points to be gained. He could walk away with in excess of a 28-point lead after tonight's race, which could be huge in this championship picture. When you look at CJ Lavere could actually end up passing Dwayne Vincent in the point standings after tonight. So again, as tame as this race has been, it can still throw that curveball into the championship standings. However, with less than 10 laps to go, actually it would be 10 laps to go the last time by the stripe. Things starting to wind down. It's looking like we're going to make it green all the way through. However, never count out that late race caution and that shootout to the finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we come across the start and finish line this time by, we're looking at 9 laps to go. That's only about 6.5, 7 minutes left in this race. Or actually 7.5 minutes. But these drivers running out of time. A number of cars coming down pit road, I believe, in the last... Actually, no, I just misread something in the standings. But they're running out of time here. And we're going to get to this finish before long. Now remember, 5 laps to go. If a caution flag were to fall, the race would be over. That could really save Chad Cole and CJ Lavere. Not sure who else needs to come down and do a gas and go, but there's certainly a lot of cars on the lead lap that are going to have to top off to be able to make it to the checkered flag, unless they were doing quite a bit of saving in the draft.
And definitely that could end up benefiting Vincent. Vincent now back up to 20th position. Cole still in 4th. So Vincent trying to get whatever he can, definitely not the way that he thought this night would go for sure. Again, working lap number 81 as our leaders make a switch. So the 27 of Guy Snyder, the 4th, is going to go to that point position and become our race leader. Snyder up front as we pull ahead right now. The race officials coming over the radio right now, reminding drivers to think before doing anything, such as John Abbott quoting the race official, bringing out an intentional caution or having a teammate bring out an intentional caution. So the warning has been sent to all drivers.
Yeah, they don't want to see any team orders going on here. And just a little warning. I haven't seen any evidence that anyone was planning anything, but certainly it's a good thing to remind these drivers, make sure that we have a straight up race. But the top 4 up front right now, still 17 seconds on the rest of the field, which is an incredible buffer zone should these guys try to stretch it. Next time around, the start-finish line will be 6 laps to go. And so they're going to reach that point where there's no looking back. A caution would end the race. They just need to, about a minute from now, the race would be official should a caution wave. And so Lavere and Cole, unsure of how their fuel looks. If they're a little bit short, they might have to gas and go pretty shortly. In fact, I would look for them to come down pit road in 2 or 3 laps at the most, if my calculations are correct. But Wilson and Snyder, they're looking really good. They might be able to fight for this win amongst themselves, and we could see one of the two try to slingshot the other, try to get this victory. As Wilson already a win on the year, I believe Guy Snyder is looking for his first win of the season, so you know he's hungry for it.
And definitely, and how about CJ Lavere? You got to look at this guy, 3rd in points without a win this season. The 2 guys in front of him in the point standings. I mean, you look at Lavere. Lavere's only 24 back from Vincent in 2nd. Vincent with 13 wins. Cole with 9 wins. You look at those bonus points. CJ Lavere has been very consistent, but he's been missing that victory. Last weekend, he could not capitalize at the Charlotte Motor Speedway to pick up that much-deserving win. Can he do it this week over Dwayne Vincent? Is going to try to reduce the impact of this because more drivers come down pit road, including the 78 of Keith Brooks Jr., having to top off on fuel, not getting the caution laps that were probably in their agenda earlier on tonight that would have made them been able to make it on a one-stop strategy, as you would obviously shut the car down or ride on that apron under caution to save as much fuel as they can right now. Unfortunately, having to come down pit road, and a long pit road for sure, which takes up a lot of time right now. But it looks like that these top 4 are going to be the ones to settle it as we come by the start-finish line this time by to take 4 laps to go, I do believe. And I'm sure they will still make it exciting, but it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, the one thing about CJ LeVere is I see them saving a little bit of fuel right now, working that draft and backing off the throttle. But I think these gentlemen are going to be coming to pit road possibly even this lap. I simply don't think they have enough gas to make it all the way to the end. Maybe if they caught a caution, they'd be able to creep around, keep the car mostly shut off during the caution flag period, be able to sneak around, retain their positions and cross the checkered flag. But these two drivers might be pretty cutting it short. But this time by, they're staying on the racetrack, so really pushing it there. They might be a little closer than I thought, and so there's no telling. CJ LeVere and Chad Cole have to be a little bit worried about their fuel, though.
And that's why you see they have dropped about 7/10 off of the race leaders, Justin Wilson and Guy Snyder, trying to save as much fuel as they can. They have the number in the car, exactly how much fuel they have, and obviously there's some percentile error in that. So they are trying to make it to the finish. They do have an 18-second buffer to 5th, so they could easily try to save this if they are close enough to try to hang on to those spots. However, it'll be interesting to see what happens right there against Snyder and Wilson. Now looking like he will be the top two that may race this thing out for that checkered flag. The 8 Chad Cole taking a look to the inside on LeVere as we are continuing to have the laps to wind down. This time Justin Wilson is going to take 2 to go.
Yeah, with only 2 laps to go for the 4 of LeVere and the 8 of Cole. As the leaders racing it out, we see them doing a switch, and now I believe Justin Wilson, who is currently in line with the Guy Snyder. Sorry, I was a little distracted there, but they're going to race it out amongst themselves more than likely. I might get shocked here. Maybe the 4 and the 8 have more fuel than I thought. But this is a situation where if they run out a little bit too early, but while trying to stretch it, they can put themselves in a terrible position where might not be able to come back around. But they're going to try to make it. This time by, we're going to take the white flag. Might be a 2-horse race for this win. Guy Snyder is looking for his first win, and Justin Wilson looking for his second. They're going to be settling it amongst themselves as we take the white flag.
And definitely Justin Wilson on the radio saying, I would rather finish first and second rather than third and fourth to be it smart here. The 26 car of Gonzalez has now gotten in between Cole and LeVere. A lap car now interfering with that battle there for the spot. Cole's actually stuck on the apron now, so a lot of lap traffic racing around the 4 car. CJ LeVere slow out of fuel, I do believe, in turns number 3 and 4. The night where he could have capitalized here and trying to get, now he's getting a push now. The 12 is going to try to help him get to the finish line, trying to hang on. LeVere trying to capitalize on tonight. Looking up front, the 27 of Snyder's in the grass. He can't hang on. Justin Wilson on the top is going to go to victory lane.
Yeah, Justin Wilson was looking good. Being the pusher, that's where you want to be on the final lap here in this tandem-style draft. As the 58 went for the move down the backstretch, and they were side by side all the way to the stripe. A little bit of contact in the tri-oval. Wilson gets his second win of the year, as there were a lot of beating and banging. It looks like Martinsville coming to the stripe. Guy Snyder with a solid second place finish. Chad Cole out of gas, but was able to creep and get third. And I tell you, CJ LeVere able to come around and get fourth, even though he ran out of gas way early. I didn't think those guys had a shot, but they made it work.
And then he got a great hand from the driver of that 12 to get him to the finish, and he is able to hang on to fourth. So Cole and LeVere are going to gain some ground in the points tonight. I don't think Cole's going to be able to get around Vincent, but will definitely close that gap, and it'll make it interesting going into Martinsville. Again, another race where possibly your fate in the hands of another driver where the bump and run is so prominent. Again, it is going to be the 58. Justin Wilson is going to go to victory lane. We're going to go to our final commercial break. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up with the post-race show and get you ready for next week at Martinsville. Don't go anywhere. It's ETV Live's live coverage of the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series.
Network. Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV Live, sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
And welcome back to the Talladega Super Speedway, a tame race, so to speak, for what Talladega is known for. But in the end, Justin Wilson is going to victory lane, and we are down here in victory lane with him. Justin, you had the win to race your way into the chase, and now you're going to pick up win number 2 on the season.
Oh, yeah. The only person to thank here is Snyder. We had a great race, man. We were planning on what we were doing on the last lap because I knew we had to swap. He said, make a move, so I did. And I didn't think it was going to stick on the top like it did, but that was a great race nonetheless.
And I'm sure it was a lot more settling for you up front with a 15-second lead as it was for all those guys consistently 2 and 3 wide in the middle of the pack. Talk us about how you guys were just so fast to able to gain that much of a lead on the rest of the pack.
Really, it was we were working with Chad and CJ. We never really broke our speed because we were all swapping at the same time, and we kept our speeds together. So, and the guys in the back might have been a little I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but not as consistent as we were on the swaps and stuff. And we really pulled away, which gave us the advantage at the end of that race there.
And definitely, you got to take a look at the points. You entered tonight 6th in the points, about 14 points behind Ronnie Potts. Potts finishing in the 11th position. You got to be looking, you obviously probably trying to want to get into that top 5 by the end of the season. What are your thoughts about next week at Martinsville?
Actually, Martinsville is one of my best tracks. I'm actually excited about going to Martinsville. I generally do pretty good there if we don't get caught up in the small wrecks, but I'm actually looking forward to it.
Well, hey, good luck there for sure. Congrats on your win. Who makes it happen for you?
Really just me, myself. I have a spotter, Chris Hone. He spots for me, and for this race, I want to thank Snyder.
And definitely, hey, again, congrats on your 2nd win of the season, and good luck next week. Hopefully, we'll see you in victory lane again.
Thank you.
And now, Harrison, I do believe you're down there somewhere on pit road with our 2nd place finisher who just missed that checkered flag.
Yeah, Guy Snyder comes home in 2nd place. I believe it's going to move him unofficially up to 8th in points. Actually, the standing is just unofficially updating right now. That is indeed 8th in points, 64 out of the lead. But Guy Snyder, you were up there in the running. You were up front all race long working with Justin Wilson. And did you think you could have done anything different to come home with that win in retrospect?
Yeah, I could have probably done a couple things. I thought Justin had a fender on me going into the trial, so I cheated up a little bit higher. It was, he was on the offense, and I was pretty much playing defense. And somebody's got to win the race, and I'm tickled with a 2nd.
Yeah, looking at this race, we had that early caution went green pretty much the rest of the way. Did you expect that? To be able to get a jump on a lot of the field as they were racing, or were you really expecting a caution as we came down through the end there?
When you're in a position, me and Justin were, because I think the other guys were close on gas, so we were kind of in the catbird seat, but, you just kind of expect it because, everything's going right, and you just kind of expect a yellow there. But, it didn't happen, and, you really got to run the whole race because they're like on, with lap 6, it wasn't even planned between me and Justin. I just kind of went down, and he was watching his mirror, and he saw I committed to pit road, and he made a great move. He was kind of faking it, and he came down pit road, and we just had enough gas the whole time, and we actually saved a little bit on that first run, and we were in the catbird seat all day. It was a great feeling.
Obviously, next week headed to Martinsville. Such a contrast between Martinsville and Talladega. How do you feel looking at the shortest track on the circuit?
I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss there. It's kind of right place, right time. If you spin early, you might be okay. It's kind of, you almost run it like a road course race, but you don't go off track. You go into walls. And I don't know, maybe look to get a little bit of payback to those who haven't given me room. lately. But we'll see. We'll play it by ear.
I'd say a great finish tonight moves you up in the points. Solid top 5 effort. Who would you like to thank? Who makes it happen for the 27 bunch?
Of course, tonight I got to thank Justin Wilson, man. He ran a flawless race. I got sideways one time down the backstretch when we were trying to work with Chad and CJ, and it was kind of sketchy about doing that again, but it worked out. So I got to thank Justin. Like I said, somebody had to win, and he earned it. And I just got to thank my team, Man-Child Racing teammates, Dave Lanza and Glenn Campbell. They didn't have a great day, but even when I caught them there and they were, fighting to stay on the lead lap, they yielded out of the way for me, and can't say enough about them guys. They're just, they're a lot of the reason that I race on Mondays. And, of course, I got to thank Bob Earl Racing Chassis, even though I'm probably not going to get it, and ETV and RSR, especially the admins. Steve Herring, he's a man.
It's tonight's second-place finisher, Guy Snyder. I believe Evan is caught up with tonight's third-place finisher.
And that's right, tonight's third-place finisher coasted across that start-finish line, and it is the 8 of Chad Cole. Chad, leaving tonight, you're going to increase your points lead to 21 over Vincent. You just missed another bonus point of leading the most laps. You led 22, just 2 shy of that, but definitely a solid night out. Talk to us about, is this any way the way you thought this race was going to go?
Not at all. I really thought we were going to get some cautions in there, and the one, I was just really surprised by that. I knew it was going to be tight on fuel, so I was saving under that too, under that caution. But still, just came up about half lap short.
Yeah, definitely walk us through there in the closing laps. Both you and your drafting partner, CJ Olvera, running out of fuel with about half of a lap to go. You made it a little bit farther than he did, manage the coast and hang on to third because of such a lead that you guys had on the rest of the pack. Talk us through how you got that lead, and then also were you keeping an eye on that fuel all the way through that run, just hoping that you were going to make it, and were there ever any thoughts that you might have to come down and top off?
Yeah, to answer your first question, Guy and Justin did a great job that first run, staying in line and switching together, and we got a really big lead, so they beat us out of the pits, and we were just trying to give them the same courtesy, 1, and then 2, we knew we was going to be close on fuel, and I was watching it the whole way. I did several races this week, and knew it was going to be really tight, making it on one stop, but no, we were just trying to save behind Justin and Guy that entire time, but game was just short. I thought CJ was going to be sitting better than me on fuel. When he ran out, it really caught me off guard. I almost wrecked in the back of the 26 there.
And definitely, you got to look ahead now to the next 4 races: Martinsville, Texas, and then we obviously go to the season finales after Phoenix at Homestead. Looking forward to next week, we go from the biggest track to the smallest track. There's going to be bumper banging, but no more different than it was tonight. How is your confidence going into that now with a 21-point lead? How are you going to race this to try to pick up that championship and hang on to the first spot?
Well, Martinsville is no means my best track, but I had a pretty clean race there in the spring. Had a good chance at getting to top 5 and kind of mix it up, playing the wrong pit strategy late. But I feel like I have a pretty good grip on the track. Obviously, I'm going to have to do a lot of laps there this week to keep up with everyone. And, yeah, that'll be kind of another wild card. You just don't know what's going to happen there.
Well, a great-looking number 8 Ford Fusion taking home that 3rd spot. Who makes it happen for you? Any shout-outs do you want to throw out there?
Yeah, this is old Dick Trickle car. He ran the Snickers 8 car back in the day. Got to thank Hippie's Paint Shop for painting it for me, Hippie Doug. And you can find Hippie on Facebook. Just search Hippie's Paint Shop and he'll come up. He's got a gallery there. You can take a look at all his great work. Frank Coons with Exo Sanitation out of New Jersey as well for sponsoring me. And you guys, ETVLIVE, you guys rock. Love watching the broadcasts. And of course, Bob O Race Chassis for the big prize at the end.
And definitely, you'll be looking to pick that up and close it off here in the next 4 weeks. Well, congrats on a top 3 finish, and we'll be looking for you to run up front next week.
Thank you.
Now, Harrison, before we close things out, I always like to say we have a special guest up in the booth, but he always laughs at me. So we'll just say that the old fart's climbing up to the broadcast booth, J.D. Webb, deciding to show up after, I don't know what he was doing there in the Talladega infield, but...
The old fart climbing up the stairs. Well, here we are, Cowboy, and I tell you what, we got some pretty big news coming our way here on ETV Going through a little bit of a brand change. We're going to be introducing a brand new website. This is all in conjunction with a new branding called ETV Motorsports Network. We're encompassing the radio station. Big plans on the radio side. 10 hours of real life, real racing programming coming our way on the radio station. So a big transformation happening. We're talking about taking ETV Motorsports Radio to the real deal, taking it to the real track, and mixing it up with guys, in the real racing arena. So a lot of big things happening with ETVLIVE again. Of course, moving up in the world. So stay tuned for that. A couple other things coming up this week. A couple of benefit races. The cancer, of course, this is breast cancer. Month here, and a couple of benefit races coming up on ETVLIVE. You want to be sure and check those out. More information over in the, I think you're going to find it over in the Tour Mod and the, a lot of the short track cards, the sprint cards, a lot of information over there. Eddie Walczyk, double clutch, promotions and everything coming out with that. And then this is the second time around for us. It will be on ETVLIVE this week on the 23rd and 24th. 2 nights of short track racing for cancer research, breast cancer research. So a lot of stuff happening at ETVLIVE. So always pushing the bar. Just stay tuned and keep an eye on us.
Definitely some exciting news for everybody to check that out for sure. Harrison, an interesting night, to say the least, at the Talladega Superspeedway. Normally we'd be referring to who got caught up in the big one. Nothing happened besides a 3-car mix-up off turn 2 in the opening laps, and other than that, clean and green till the finish. What was your take on tonight's action?
Yeah, certainly Talladega brings the unexpected. The unexpected tonight was exactly as you said, an early caution and then 80-plus laps green the rest of the way. And so Dwayne Vincent, not the race he was looking for. He's 20 points back, but certainly this has been a crazy chase. We've seen a lot of surprising incidents for our points leaders straight up there at the top of the charts. And so anything can happen. Next week, we're running a track that we haven't seen since the 5th race of the year, I believe. And Martinsville is just a whole other type of racing. And so this is going to be a stressful last 4 races as the guys battle it out for that points championship.
And definitely also looking ahead this week on ETVLIVE. Also, you got Wednesday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, some Maritime iRacing League short track racing on ETVLIVE. Then a doubleheader Thursday night. You got going on at 9 o'clock Eastern is that breast cancer benefit race, and then at 9:30 is the RSR Asphalt Assault Series as well. Then you skip ahead to Saturday, the Morgan Schooley benefit race going on at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and then later that night at 9:30 Eastern is the Integrity Racing League. Also tomorrow night is the Rewind BS and Back Talk radio show on ETVLIVE Radio. So a lot to come. Check out etv-eplay.net for more information on that. That's going to do it for us tonight at the Talladega Superspeedway. A strange one for sure for all the wrong reasons, but we're going to be going to Martinsville next week with bumper banging action that could be another shakeup in the points. Again, my name is Evan Pasoko. For Harrison Wireless, joining me up here in the booth, Laura Lawson pushing the cameras, JD Webb doing whatever the heck he did tonight. We will see you guys next week from Martinsville. Take care.
Network. Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETVLIVE, sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks. HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.